Hello, how are yous? So, remember last time we had the whole platform being on fire that Finn caused, you'd imagine, and Ellie and Anna trying to escape, and Seth controlling the sea or trying to control the sea, but Ellie helped him control the sea. Kind of, I think that was my interpretation of it. Might be wrong. Let's see, wait and see what happens. So, um, Ellie grabbed his hand and pulled him along the alley. They turned a corner, and Ellie heard the heavy tread of boots behind. From her pocket, she pulled a small wheeled device with a key sticking in its back like a child's clockwork toy. She wound it up, then hurled it down a cross street in the opposite direction from where they were heading. It emitted a high-pitched whistle as it rattled along the cobblestones. "That will distract them," she said as they hurried onwards. "What, they know it's yours?" said Seth. "No. In about 30 seconds it's going to explode." Ahead, the tower of the serpent loomed above them. "What do we do?" said Seth, searching for places to hide. All the doors around them were locked shut. "We could get into the sewers, maybe," Ellie said, glancing around. "Oh, but there aren't any entrances nearby. Come on, this way. We'll hide up here." At the base of the stone serpent, they found the entrance to the staircase, which would take them right to the top. They climbed, winding through the snakes insides. Remember the snakes are on the outside of the building, yeah? Ellie let out a sigh of relief as they left the streets behind them. They emerged onto the flat top of the tower, looking down on the mossy rooftops of the city, a kingdom of nests and gull droppings. Oh, it must stink. It really must. Seth collapsed on his front, his hands on his head. Ellie's knees hurt from running. There's my connection. And she had swallowed so much seawater, she felt sick. She looked about the flat rooftop. There were dozens of large crates scattered around, but she didn't remember being there before. Seth staggered to his feet and walked to the edge, looking down at the suits below. "Still chasing that whistling thing," he said with mounting excitement. "They're not following us." Ellie almost laughed. They'd done it. He'd actually done it. Then she heard the tinkling of metal. "I just knew you would come up here," said a cheerful voice nearby. Ellie's heart seemed to stop. Finn was lying on his back behind one of the crates, staring up at the sky. Ellie checked over his shoulders to make sure Seth wasn't watching her, but he was focused on where the Inquisitors were going. Ellie scrambled towards Finn, kneeling down at the side behind the crate. "What are you doing here?" she whispered. "Can't be here." "You've always been so fond of this place," he said. "I thought if you're going to hide anywhere, it would be here. Isn't it nice to have someone on your side who knows you so well?" "You're still going the wrong way," Seth cried. "What have you done?" Ellie snarled, grabbing Finn's wrist and squeezing tight. "Dear, dear Nellie, such a short fuse," Finn said, then smiled. "Oh, and speaking of which..." Ellie heard it, somewhere nearby. Something was hissing. She ran towards the crates, kicking one aside and overturning another. "Where is it?" she cried. "Where's the fuse?" Ellie, "What's wrong?" said Seth. "Now it'll just be you and me again," said Finn. "I'd say that is worth celebrating. What better way to celebrate than..." Ellie ran towards Seth and pulled him down to the rooftop just as a huge series of thunderous explosions rocketed upwards. 100 fireworks detonated at once from inside the crates, blasting wood in all directions, burning missiles corkscrewing in the air. Finn vanished amid the smoke. Yells and shouts came from below, barely audible beneath the screams of the fireworks. Seth got to his feet. "What have you done?" Seth yelled at Ellie at the top of his lungs. "The whole city will see us now. We need to get down." Ellie's vision swam with blinking lights. The tower was covered in a blanket of smoke, smelling of scorched almonds and acid. Little sparks still fluttered in the crates, doing purple loop-the-loops. She rushed to the edge of the tower. Below, 5 Inquisitors were heading for the steps. If they went down that way, they'd be caught. But what other way was there? There was a 100-foot drop from the roof to the cobbles. "Seth!" she yelled. She could hardly hear herself over the ringing in his ears. "Going to have to jump?" Seth stared at her in disbelief. What? Trust me. All right, this will work. They held one another's gaze. Ellie, I know you're clever, he said. Even you can't trick death. Watch me, said Ellie. Now come on. The last of the fireworks spat and fizzled. One whooshed past Ellie's ear. She smelled her own hair burning. Heavy footsteps echoed up the stairwell. Here! The vessel is here! Seth took hold of Ellie's hand. They stepped to the edge and jumped. Oh my, how are they going to get out of this? And why is Finn so determined to blow up Seth? Why didn't Seth see Finn? What are you doing, Ellie? What are you doing? Remember? From the diary of Claude Hestermere. Last night, we had the feast of St. Emery. Nearly every scholar was there, young and old. The good silver cutlery was in use, making the 3 long dining tables glitter like fish scales in the candlelight. The casket of St. Emery had been brought out and placed in the centre of the hall, a large, beautifully carved trunk the size of a rowing boat. I sat by myself. It was my own fault. I become sullen and moody, and the other scholars were wary of me. I didn't think they'd suspected me of stealing the gold, though. Since the young servant, Thomas, had disappeared at the same time as the money, everyone assumed that he had stolen it. I was immensely relieved, though worried about what the enemy had done to him. Gold. Thomas has got the blame. That's not good. You promise you didn't kill him? I whispered into my wine glass, so nobody would see me talking to myself. Of course, said the enemy, taking the seat opposite me. I have to fulfill your wish to the letter. Hide him somewhere, you said. So that's what I did. I met the eye of one of the other scholars across the hall and forced the warmest smile I could manage. He'd been a good friend of Peter's and had helped us with the manuscript we'd been working on before Peter died, a collection of old legends and myths from the early years of the city. He looked away without smiling back. You made them all hate me, I said. I was so tired. These days, I'm barely aware of what was happening around me a lot of the time. You've done that yourself, said the enemy. You shouldn't have helped my father. I had to. Those moneylenders would have killed him. The enemy smiled. That's not why you did it. You felt guilty. Now just you listen. But I was cut off by a sudden knocking, loud and insistent. The other scholars looked around, startled. Whatever is that racket? One said. The master held up his hand and everyone quietened down. In the silence, it was clear where the noise was coming from. The casket of St. Emery. 2 of the younger scholars went to investigate. They undid the locks and sealed the lid. That sealed the lid of the casket shut and flung it open. A young man burst out, gasping for air. I recognised him at once. It was Thomas. That enemy's naughty. So a casket's a coffin. Yeah. So that's not very nice. That's not very nice. So my connection today was that Elliot had a sore knee from running. I've got a sore knee from running. I have to go and see about it. Not to run for a wee while. My enthusiasm is this enemy character is really good. I like the fact that he's got to do what he says, but you must be super specific in your instructions. Sometimes as a teacher, you have to be super specific in your instructions, or people misinterpret what you mean. My puzzle is, why is the enemy the enemy? Why is the enemy naughty? Why is the enemy bad? Why is the enemy behaving like this? What's made him so? That's my puzzle for today. Right. See you next time for our last part before the spring break. Brilliant. Bye.